Now going over to question 20, here we have an equation that can be turned into the format of the equation of a circle. This is a very common question, something you want to be really comfortable with, but number 20 here is an above average delivery of that question. So here, this is an easier version of the same question that we can practice on. Let's say we had x squared plus 6x plus y squared minus 10y equals 2. Well, we need to get our two b's. And when we talk about b, we're talking about the idea that a quadratic is in the format of ax squared plus bx plus c. And the b is the number in front of the x to the first power, or in this case, the y to the first power as well. So our two b's are 6 and negative 10, these two numbers here. We're going to divide them both by 2 and then square both of those numbers. And you need to have that memorized. You need to have b over 2 squared memorized, and you need to know that b over 2 squared is what you add to both sides, and b over 2 is what it factors to. So we're going to add 9 and 25 to both sides. So let's do plus 9 plus 25. We just added a total of 34 to the left side of the equal sign. So to balance it out, we have to add 34 to the right side of the equal sign. Now, what does x squared plus 6x plus 9 factor to? And most people will know that that's 3 and 3. The two numbers that add to 6 and multiply to 9 are 3 and 3. But here, that's built into the method anyway. So on a harder question, we can just look here and know what it is. But that'll factor to x plus 3, which we can write as x plus 3 squared. And what two numbers add to negative 10 and multiply to 25, if you were doing that factoring, that would be negative 5 and negative 5. But we knew that already. So we'll just say this is y minus 5 squared. And on the right-hand side, we have 2 and 34, which is 36. So this is in the equation of a circle. We know that the center is negative 3, positive 5. And we know that the radius is 6, because the number on this side, that's your r squared for a circle. So that's how completing the square to find the equation of a circle works. And let's try it in this situation. Here we have x squared plus 1x plus y squared plus 1y. So when there's no coefficient, there's really an invisible number 1 there. So we need to memorize b over 2 squared. We need to know that this is what you add to both sides, and this is how it'll factor. And we're going to do that for x and for y. And our b's are the 1 in front of the x and the 1 in front of the y. So 1 and 1, divide them both by 2, square them both. And now we know that we're going to add 1/4 to both sides for each one. So we'll add a total of 2/4. So let's rewrite this here. X squared plus 1x plus y squared plus 1y is 199 over 2. We're going to add 1/4 here. We're going to add 1/4 here. And all together, that's 2/4. So we just added 2/4 on the left side of the equal sign. 2/4 is the same as 1/2. So let's add 1/2 on the right side of the equal sign. So 199 over 2 plus 1 over 2, that's 200 over 2, which is the same as 100. So we have 100 right there. And how does this factor? What two numbers add to 1 and multiply to 1/4? Now that's really hard. This is a situation where it's more important to know that you have the number already. You don't really have to think about what two numbers add to 1 and multiply to 1/4, because we already know this will factor to x plus 1/2 squared. So by the way, if you're in this situation and you're being asked for the center, that's where you need to know that you can factor without really easily being able to come up with the numbers on your own. So these are all the identical numbers. So this will also be y plus 1/2 squared. Let's make that a little neater. And so we now know that the center is negative 1/2, and that the radius is 10. And the center is negative 1/2, because the equation of the circle has a minus sign in it. So whatever number you see in this spot here, that's the opposite sign of the value for the center, whether it be x or y. And so we have this being r squared. So 100 is our r squared, if you want to write it separately somewhere. 100 is r squared, and you could have taken the square root of both sides to get r is 10. And that's our answer for this question, 10.